This is the MSI Optix MAG274QRF-QD monitor. Hey everyone, Mukul here. So I loved reviewing my last monitor with the help of my two eyes, and I was pretty excited when I was able to get my hands on the MSI Optix. No, I'm not repeating that. So thanks to MSI for sending it out to me. This is a 27-inch 1440p 165Hz monitor which uses a panel by AU Optronics, which has garnered great reviews overall when it comes to gaming, and it also supports G-Sync. MSI made sure to keep each and everyone happy with the box contents. Not only the monitor comes with an HDMI cable, but it also comes with a DisplayPort cable, which is not something we get with all monitors. And of course, there is a USB extension cable for the USB ports on the monitor. And also without it, you can't run the gaming OSD software the monitor supports. They also pack these screws with which you can mount the monitor on the wall, but the brackets that go on the wall are optional. The power adapter is this light brick, and thank frigging God, they didn't put a 16 amp plug for the monitor. So the plug can fit most of your outlets easily, unless you're trying to put it in a 16 amp socket, and that suddenly makes you miss the 16 amp plugs which we get with other monitors. The base of the monitor stand is a heavy beast, and the arm does also have a substantial weight to it. The whole outer body of these components have a fiber cover over them, but underneath there are chunky heavy metal parts that adds a lot of weight to the overall stand, and hence the panel stays quite sturdy and stable once you put them together. And putting them together was quite easy, that even your kid can do that. That is if you have kids, and that is if you are married, or even if you aren't married. I mean, who cares? Not my problem. You just have to mount the arm on the base and tighten the one screw underneath. Then just snap the metal bracket on the back of the panel and tighten these two screws, and tada, you are done. And yes, it supports a 100 by 100 mm base mount too. The panel can be fully articulated towards left and right and up and down, and it can also be rotated to position itself vertically. The articulation motion for both up and down or rotating the screen is quite smooth and works with just enough force. Most of the fiber parts on the stand and on the back of the monitor have a black matte grainy finish over them, except for these few parts which are glossy. The overall design statement is quite edgy, and my favorite part was how the stand looks overall. And if you dig reflecting RGB lights off from the wall behind the monitor, then MSI has made sure to add this pretty array of lights on the back, which can be customized with the gaming OSD software too. There's also a through and through cut of this asymmetrical hexagon on the bottom of the stand, which can help you sort a bunch of cables through it, so that at least one part of your miserable life is managed in some way. The monitor also has an ample amount of ports behind, and that includes a Type-C port too. Because the USB-A ports aren't on the right or left edge of the monitor, accessing them for a quick pen drive data transfer won't be easy. On the Acer Nitro XV2, which is my primary monitor, these are on the left side, and hence those ports are quite easily accessible. The USB-A data transfer speed was pretty nominal and nothing exceptional. There is a power button on the right hand side of the base which is easily accessible, and then a macro button on the left that connects to the gaming OSD software. And on the back of the monitor there is one joystick to navigate through the OSD menu, and then there are no other buttons. There are also no inbuilt speakers on the monitor. The panel has a matte finish over it, and the amount of reflection it disperses kinda matches my Acer monitor, and the bezels across are also of standard width. The IPS glow was constant across the panel, and there were no extreme backlight bleeding spots on the unit I received. According to Artings, the panel has a 94% DCI P3 color coverage and a 100% Adobe RGB coverage, which is impressive for a gaming monitor to have, and this makes the panel quite suitable for content creation too. The recorded peak brightness is 370 nits in standard mode and around 390 nits in HDR. This MSI monitor was definitely slightly brighter than the Acer Nitro XV2 in the standard mode, but the HDR brightness appeared similar. The monitor's lowest brightness can get pretty low for the Batman out there. Batsman? Well, bumping up the brightness and contrast to 100% in standard mode overblows the exposure like how it does on the way cheaper Acer monitor. The panel can support 10-bit color depth at 120Hz, but at 165Hz you are restricted to using it at 8-bit. But unlike the stupid Acer's HDR, activating and deactivating HDR in the MSI model was pretty smooth and flawless. Once you enable it from the display settings in Windows, the panel recognizes the change instantly, and then you can either turn it off from the Windows settings or from the OSD menu. And the HDR10 which this monitor supports is again pretty average and just washes out the colors by a good margin from its SDR mode. So clearly the monitors of this price segment still lack good HDR capabilities. And in my direct comparison next to the Acer monitor with maximum brightness and contrast set on both the monitors and the colors were set to normal, it was apparent that the MSI's panel just loves the blues. As you can notice, both the reds and yellows are more punchy and saturated on the Acer screen, but as soon as we compare the blues, the MSI panels hold up pretty nicely against it. So in overall comparison, the Acer panel appeared to have slightly punchier colors too, which might be liked by some of you, but not many of you. Some like their colors to be a little toned down, but some like oversaturated colors on their panels and screens. The overall color spectrum appeared to be quite similar on both the monitors, with the exception that the Acer loves more yellows than the MSI monitor, and the MSI loves blues more than the Acer monitor. So yellows and blues. And about the other preset color modes, with the office mode, the overall brightness increases and hence images and videos will turn out brighter as less of the shadows will get crushed, but this makes the color shifts towards being more yellows. The text also turns hazy, so yeah, just avoid the office mode even if you are in the office. But even without turning on the movie mode, consuming media on this monitor is going to be a feast to the eyes, as most of the content will look gorgeous with punchy enough colors. But the contrast ratio can feel pretty average if you have the eyes to catch it, or if your eyes are already accustomed to the absolute blacks that are present on either OLED screens, on TVs or on phones. The normal color mode kinda overblows the highlights, and the cool color mode adds more blues to the overall panel. So unless you calibrate the screen colors yourself in the customize mode, you are pretty much stuck with the other two options. You can only set the RGB values and not sRGB values, so do note this crucial point somewhere. But after the recent firmware update, the monitor got an emulated sRGB mode, which does look fine and doesn't behave as contrasty or punchy like with the other modes. My favorite setting for work-related tasks and even for casual gaming sometimes was choosing the normal mode and then choosing the cool color temperature. The contrast and brightness stayed around 65 in most of my use case, and this made the panel look most color neutral to my eyes. These two eyes. The viewing angles are again typical like the many gaming IPS displays out there, and the text appears to be quite sharp and clear on the panel. So happy reading, I guess? There are also a bunch of gaming presets you can choose from, with the fastest being the FPS mode of course. Enabling MPRT for highly competitive FPS gaming will reduce the overall brightness by almost 30 to 40%, but the difference between how sharp a fast moving image will appear with and without enabling MPRT is quite stark. Not Tony Stark. Visually, there is hardly any ghosting effect or trail visible with the MPRT turned on, but for most of us non-ultra competitive gamers, this won't matter in most of our gaming sessions. As even with MPRT turned off, the ghosting and trailing will be acceptable for most of the casual games. You can either choose a brighter or a sharper output though, which will totally depend on the type of game you play. There are 3 overdrive settings to choose from, and they does improve upon the fact that they turn out the output image a bit more sharper. But to be honest, in most of the cases, I would rarely use it above the normal one, and at most the fast one. Enabling HDR for games has a similar effect like how it was for standard stuff. The overall brightness and saturation will decrease, and this will also disable any overdrive setting or MPRT if you have enabled any of them. But yeah, overall I had ample fun gaming on the monitor. For most of my gaming sessions, I honestly didn't feel as if I'm missing out on much really, as compared to the way cheaper Acer monitor I primarily game on. The gaming OSG software has a ton of things which you can do with it. You can choose a variety of profile presets and customize them too if you want. The software is honestly so feature rich that you might not ever feel the need to use the joystick control on the back of the monitor and tire your boring arm in the process. Apart from that, there are features like auto shutdown and disable the on-screen keyboard for some reason, and then of course choose what the macro key can do. I like the idea of assigning it with different color profiles so that I can easily shuffle between them as I use the monitor. You can also assign a hotkey to enable or disable a feature, and you can also customize the joystick controls direction too and make it do stuff it is not supposed to by totally misdirecting it. And for customizing the RGB lights behind the panel, you have a bunch of presets you can choose from. In my opinion though, these RGB lights are a waste of resource and money, especially if you sit in a room with ample light in it. So the monitor is pretty good for most of the tasks and especially for gaming, but I honestly can't digest its pricing here in India. In the US it costs around $400 which is a good price, but here in India sometimes seeing this monitor sell for more than 40,000 or 42,000 or 45,000 rupees sometimes. I mean, to be honest, that is simply an absurd ask. If you are a content creator, the monitor has its ups and downs, and unless you really calibrate it yourself, you would be using a pretty flawed, not so color accurate screen right out of the box. So going for the QD model over the way cheaper non-QD variant makes almost no sense to me, and for me the tag of QD against the pricing of this variant just feels like more of a marketing gimmick to me. I mean, if someone asks me if this variant truly deserves almost double the price here over the Acer Nitro XV2 series, then I would simply say no. But in other markets like US etc., where the price disparity isn't that far off, I still might suggest the MSI as a solid gaming monitor. But if I ever see the pricing of this monitor to be around 32,000 rupees or 35,000 rupees, then I would instantly recommend it. I guess MSI is pretty aware of this, and maybe that's why they have many cheaper options themselves available here in India. The monitor, however, has a great stand and has been built quite well, so definitely full marks there. And for gaming, it has been appreciated by the likes of Hardware Unboxed, and they do a very thorough testing of monitors when it comes to measuring a lot of stuff, which I can't do as I don't have all those tools with me. So yeah, if you like my efforts on the video and you want to support me, you can buy from the affiliate links in the description below. I will also post a bunch of other good but cheap monitor options too. You can also hop onto our Discord server for more chit chat on relevant content. Stay safe, humans. That's all for today. MewBot with my own weird quantum dot technology out.